And we are now live. Everybody, what's going on? It's been a little bit less hectic of a week, I'd say, with no AB news. AB's out the NFL. AB's trying to get back in the NFL. It's a lot more calm. And what's the biggest news is Melvin Gordon's back, and Hollywood Brown, Antonio Brown's cousin, is going up against the Steelers in, I guess that's a far-fetched revenge game. You don't really want to call it that. So things are a lot more calm. I'd say around week 5 of the NFL or week 7 of the NFL is usually where we get to see things calm down more. We know more what's going on because the first couple weeks have been crazy. Guys like DeAndre Hopkins, for example, hasn't really done much except for his week 1 performance. Expecting a huge bounce back week for him. And for the rest of the season, he should be good as well. Wanted to start off by talking about, I saw the Joker movie last night. It was good. Not going to spoil it for anybody. I just like when films try something a little bit different, and takes place, I believe, in the late 70s. So, man, I just love that old gritty feel, and not your ordinary superhero movie or anything like that. Enough talk about that. By the way, guys, my name is Hussein the Brain. If you don't know me, this is the No Limit Fantasy Sports Podcast. We're live right now on the NLFS YouTube channel. Also, the audio podcast can be found on Spotify, Apple, and Google. I have my own YouTube channel and fantasy brand, Fantasy Couch, and just hit 30K today. And I know it's just a number. I didn't think I'd feel anything. We're at 29.8, 29.9. But just whoever does follow me on Fantasy Couch, just want to say thank you. I really appreciate it. 30K is a great personal milestone, and I think it's a pretty big milestone as far as the Couch family is concerned. So just very grateful. I know it's not a million or anything like that. But yeah, 30K means a lot. Started from nothing, struggled for quite a bit, and now we're moving on up. I know we're gonna get into DFS. We're gonna get into NFL. Just wanted to get some random thoughts out the way. Complaining and laziness. So what's up with these two things? There's usually negative things, but I think there's also a positive thing, because it's like, am I complaining about people complaining? That's also complaining, right? I just thought of that right now. Like, that's also complaining. That's also bad. Complaining and laziness could be positive things. You can turn it easily into positives, because what is criticism? How do you identify problems? How do you identify criticism? And one way to do it, first you got to complain. You got to identify what the problem is, what's going wrong. So complaining is okay, but that's really the first step. So criticism, having high standards, filing a complaint. I get that. Like what needs to be better, what needs to be improved. But for people that spend whatever it is, 100% of their lives or 60% of their lives complaining, you got to move on. That's just step 1. Identify the problem. And what are you going to do about it? You can complain, but, if the food's bad at a restaurant, go to another restaurant. You open another restaurant. Like, don't eat there again. It is what it is. You move on. Don't go back to the same restaurant. No need to complain and dwell. No need to let it ruin your entire day. Identify the problem. A lot of people that complain, like I complain, I find stuff wrong, and then we move on. People need to ask, how can I make this better? What can I do to help? Or how can I move on from this? Also, laziness. It's a good thing to be lazy sometimes. Maybe that's not what you're trying to do. Maybe that sucks. I mean, this also applies to DFS. This is like some life stuff I just wanted to get out the way. But yeah, if you're lazy at something, maybe you suck at it. Maybe you were never motivated to do it in the first place. If you're lazy at everything, then you need a life check. That's no good. But if you're lazy at something, where does that stem from? Like, do you like this? Do you really enjoy it? Okay. Had to get that stuff out the way. Let's move on to some DFS. What about this, guys? What about Russell Wilson? I think he's my number one player as far as if I had a vote, just pretending I have an MVP vote. He'd be my number one MVP vote. And I think he's going to be in the discussion. Now, this Patrick Mahomes going against the Colts game will probably get him back into number one or at least top two. But I think Russell Wilson is definitely deserving of MVP discussion ahead of everybody pretty much after what he did to the Rams. The Rams have been pretty good against Russell Wilson traditionally, but this game they came out with the W, and this was an amazing catch and an even better throw. When we were watching this game, we thought that Russell Wilson was throwing it away, throwing it out of bounds, but in reality, what he was doing was giving Lockett a slight, just a very slim chance to possibly make a play. And so he threw it away from the defender. He threw it pretty much out of bounds, and there was just a small chance Lockett would catch this, and he did. So amazing catch, but even better throw because the defender, like Lockett barely had a chance to get it, but the defender had zero chance to get it. 0% chance the DB would have caught that ball and picked it off. So just amazing play. He's got my MVP vote. And then here's another angle. Low quality image here, but the other angle of Lockett. I mean, look at this guy, man, catching the ball and toe tapping right in the corner of the end zone, the far corner. Let's go on to some cheap DFS plays this week. And if you guys are tuned in the live chat, hit me up. Say what's up. Let me know if you've never played NFL. Don't be shy. I'm here to help, here to answer your questions. This podcast is just kicking off this year. So this season, it's only been a few weeks. So that one-on-one time, you can easily ask me a question and I will get to it because we're still new. We're small and steadily growing. But yeah, a lot of times you don't get that one-on-one interaction. So even if you have a question that you might think is dumb, whatever, I don't care. Ask it. I will answer it. The Chiefs-Colts game slated to be the highest scoring game this week. Too bad it's not on the main slate because I would go pretty hard on Jacoby Brissett, T.Y. Hilton stack. I think Brissett's going to air it out. He's actually a much better quarterback than I thought. Good O-line. Colts are a decent team, and they're going to have to throw the ball to catch up to Mahomes. That's what happens when you play the Chiefs. They're playing Sunday night, I believe, though. So my number one cheap play, as you can see, this guy. Well, I don't know. Most people don't recognize this guy. He's Auden Tate, and he is a wide receiver for the Bengals. So these are two other games I'd be targeting if you could even target the Chiefs-Colts game. Is the Bengals-Cardinals game, and that is in Cincinnati. And another game is the Falcons at Houston. So Texans-Falcons game. Those two should be high scoring. One's more volatile than the other, and that's the Bengals and Cardinals, two pretty bad teams going up against each other. But Auden Tate, I see him getting at least 7 targets, maybe around, I'd say 8 targets, 5-6 receptions. He'll return value almost guaranteed, priced at $3,500. There's really no doubt about that in my mind. And we're going to keep it short with these DFS plays. I'm just going to go through some of my cheap plays. And you need cheap plays to make the lineups work. So there are some obvious picks this week that are great, that are expensive. But how can you get those more mid to a higher price players in your lineup the way you can afford to? Like, I want to get the Bears and Patriots defenses in my lineups. Maybe the Eagles. So Eagles are priced at $3,700. Bears $3,800. Going against Raiders in London. If Terrell Williams is out for the Raiders, Bears D gets a huge boost. Patriots D $4,300 going up against Washington. They're going to absolutely slaughter that team. Remember last week's podcast, we were talking about how cursed Washington was. Wow. It's even worse than I thought, guys. It's looking bad for that franchise. Pretty sure Jay Gruden is only going to be coaching a few more games for that team. Who do we got that's cheap? Yeah, so you got Hopkins, that's expensive. Deshaun Watson, Brady's expensive. A lot of expensive plays. This is how we're gonna fit it in. So with quarterbacks, I have no cheap plays at quarterbacks. I like Watson, Brady, Kyler Murray, Winston, Matt Ryan. I like those guys. For running backs, I do Mixon's okay. He's a little bit on the meat, like he's cheap for his he's a good value play. Aaron Jones is cheap, so he's 200 less than Mixon. Aaron Jones is priced at 5,900. Jamal Williams, his backup, is out, so he'll get a lot of touches, and I see him getting some work in the passing game. And we have David Montgomery. These are DraftKings prices, by the way. And No Limit Fantasy Sports Podcast is for NoLimitFantasySports.com. It's a DFS site that uses crypto, but it's based off DraftKings salary pricing. So yes, I have Ricky in the building. What's up, man? Go ahead, send me your squad. Let me see what I think, and let me know if it's for GPP or for a cash game. Let me know what type of contest it is, because that matters. Aaron Jones, 5,900. He'll return value. This is a sneaky high-scoring game, too. So the Vegas odds has this Packers and Cowboys game being, I think, a top 4 as far as the over-under goes. And David Montgomery is my guy. He's actually getting a lot of buzz. All the podcasts, radio stations, blogs, YouTube videos, they're all talking about David Montgomery. I absolutely love Montgomery this week. Mike Davis, 0 snaps week 4. He's now irrelevant. So his snap count actually decreased every single week, significantly from week 1 to week 2 to week 3 being almost nothing. In week 4, he didn't even get a single snap. David Montgomery is the workhorse. 5,200 going against the Raiders. This Bears D should slaughter the Raiders, and Montgomery will get a lot of goal line chances. Chase Daniel versus Trubisky, I don't see a big difference there. So with Trubisky out, I don't think it's going to significantly help nor hurt Montgomery. If anything, might help him out, I'd say. Because Trubisky does like to run from time to time. Let's see what Ricky says. Cash game, he's got Brady, David Johnson, David Montgomery, Julio, Keenan Allen, Hopkins, Eifert, Jones, I assume that's Aaron Jones, and Bills D. That's a very good lineup. I would try to squeeze in a Patriots or Bears D, and that's going to be near impossible with those type of wide receivers. But yeah, very good cash lineup. I like it. Yeah, man, that's a pretty good one. These are all players that I do love. It's, I guess, the only, if I had to nitpick, I say you're spending a lot on wide receivers. I'm cool with Eifert. I'm cool with Brady. Aaron Jones, I'm cool with. Montgomery, those two are gonna save, right? You're gonna save a lot with those two in your lineup. And I actually don't have the FanDuel prices in front of me. I have DraftKings prices and NLFS prices, which are the same thing, in front of me. But I assume they're cheap on FanDuel as well, similar website. Yeah, so yeah, that's my really only knock, and that's nitpicking, is that you're investing a lot in wide receivers, a position that's a little bit more volatile. So maybe you do want to go Auden Tate and then go with a better running back or a better defense. That's probably my suggestion with that, because there are wide receivers that's going to save. And so we're going to go over some cheap wide receivers right now. Of course, you have MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Geronimo getting a boost in targets because Devontae Adams is out. Calvin Ridley, super cheap this week, 4,900. Did very well the first 2 weeks and not so much the last 2 weeks. Hopefully he'll bounce back. And as for cheap plays, Auden Tate is hands down my favorite cheap play, period, out of all positions. 3,500 going against the Cardinals. Cardinals can't stop the running back. They can't stop the pass. They can't stop anything. And this is two up-tempo teams going up against each other. Matter of fact, the Cardinals are the number one most up-tempo team. Is that even a word? They're the number one fastest-paced NFL team. So that means that they take the fewest time per snap. And the Bengals, not too bad either. They're ranked number 7 as far as pace goes. Yeah, Eifert, man. Love that one, Ricky. Yeah, Eifert. So, and that would have you 2 Bengals, but I don't think that's really that bad because if you got Autumn Tate minimum price, Eifert minimum price, that's actually kind of a good strategy because I see the Bengals have to score, right? They have to do something. Yeah. But some more cheap plays in GPPs. Keyshawn Johnson 3,500, QT 3,400 if Steals is out, only if Steals is out. Alex Erickson is a dumb, bold, crazy contrarian pick, 3,100. He's a wide receiver on the Bengals, by the way. And Trent Sherfield, who's been okay in the preseason, he's minimum priced going against the Bengals. Greg Olsen, 4,000, a good value play. Delaney Walker had a bad week last week, so he'll be less owned. People won't trust him. And I had a Mariota Walker stack, so I know how it feels. But I'll hop back on the Delaney Walker train. You got to be stubborn like that sometimes, especially in GPPs. And for a cheap punt, did I say Eifert? Basically minimum price. For a cheap tight end punt, we have Jeremy Sprinkle going against the Patriots. So pretty sure, Vernon Davis is out. We know Jordan Reed is out. So Jeremy Sprinkle is the starting tight end for Washington. They're going to have to try to do something against the Patriots, maybe. Not one that I like, though. It's like I don't like Jeremy Sprinkle, but I'm saying he is minimum priced. If you want a tight end that's more reliable, you have Noah Fant at 2,800 versus Jeremy Sprinkle at 2,500. And for defenses, I don't have any punts that I like. I have punts written down. I like Eagles, Bears, and Patriots. Eagles D, lots of upside, not a high floor. Bears D, lots of upside, much higher floor if Terrell Williams is out. And he's questionable. He's a game time decision. That is in London, by the way. It's not actually an Oakland Raiders home game, even though it says it's a home game. It's being played in London, so it's not really a home game for the Raiders. And then Patriots D, 4,300 against Washington. But if you want some cheaper picks, we have Bills mid-range, Titans mid-range, Chargers mid-range, and then 2 punts are the Steelers D going against the Ravens. They're the cheapest defense other than Washington. Don't pick them. Steelers defense is super cheap, but I don't think they'll finish in the bottom 3 or bottom 5. I think there are about 4 or 5 defenses that I would pick the Steelers over, and so their price doesn't reflect that. Not one I'm going to pick a lot, just saying. And the Buccaneers at 2,200 going against the Teddy Bridgewater. I think they have a lot of upside. No floor, but a lot of upside. They have some really good players. I love their front 7 with Shaq Barrett and Ndamukong Suh, Vita. It's hard to run against them. They put pressure on the quarterback. And that's why Daniel Jones was so good against them, because that guy is athletic, man. He can run away from these Tampa Bay defenders. Like, I watched that game, and it wasn't like that. Like, you look at it and say, okay, the Bucs suck. Yes, they don't have good pass coverage. But I know if Eli Manning played against the Bucs, he would have got slaughtered because he can't run away from Shaq Barrett and all those guys. Like, the Bucs have some good pieces on defense, mostly in their front 7. Their pass coverage does suck. Ricky says I like MVS. Yeah, it's more of a he's not necessarily the best cash play, but if you're playing on a site where he's cheap, I can't see that happening. Well, guys, we're going to end it there. Hopefully you didn't hate me talking about the Joker movie, complaining, laziness. I want to thank everyone that hits me up on Fantasy Couch. Really good milestone for me, 30K. Just so grateful, man, that I get to do this. So grateful that I get to host the No Limit Fantasy Sports Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to No Limit Fantasy Sports Podcast on YouTube. You can also catch the audio podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, the whole shebang. It's also on Stitcher, TuneIn, all those as well. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Dislike if you did not. I want to wish everyone good luck week 5 on DFS. Go head on over to NoLimitFantasySports.com and play. We have a lot of free rolls on there, some great tournaments. I'm going to play on there as well. And we also have a great bonus. We still have that match going, $250 deposit with crypto. You'll get a 100% deposit match with a 1x rollover. Amazing. That deal won't last for long though, guys. Peace.